So some of you may know that Ubisoft actually had one of their Direct thing, Forward? I don't know what the fuck it is. The Ubisoft Forward? Such a fucking stupid-ass name. And they showed off a legendary title, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. And what the fuck were they thinking? This game looks like shit. Now, to be fair, the first game that actually came out didn't look like, the next greatest thing since Jesus Christ, but that game came out in 2003, so I don't really think this game has any fucking excuse, looking like a rejected PS3 game. But I digress. The point of this video is to actually show you that Prince of Persia is really, really cool, and I hope that they change this new trailer and make sure that the game looks way better than whatever the fuck that we just got. I am going to be going over every single Prince of Persia game in order of release to show you just how great this series is. Now, spin-off games are going to take a little bit of a backseat, even though I have played all of them. Some of them are really, really fucking weird, like turn-based RPGs and other weird side-scrolling things. So, I'm just not going to touch those, and the old, like, one that came out in like 1989, I'm not going to even touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. As a side note, I do know this is something that is diverging from my regular type of content, but I realized that I wanted to give myself a little bit more of my own identity. I've always wanted to review games and show other people the magic of older and newer games. So please let me know if you enjoy it and you want to see more content like this. I would more than be happy to make more content about reviewing and showing you guys different types of games that you may not know about. If I had to describe Sands of Time in one word, it would be charming. You can really tell that the devs wanted to make you feel as cool as possible when you were playing this, and they had a blast making this game as well. They never spare a moment to do slow-mo VFX to show you running on walls, doing flips, and even putting your sword away after a battle like an action movie hero. Because, believe it or not, Prince of Persia was one of the first games to actually make parkour a fundamental mechanic and make it look and feel great. At first it seems pretty simple, and for the most part, it is. But the special thing about the parkour really shines in the combat. You have your standard attack, block, roll, and parry, but if you jump toward an enemy, you can flip over and behind them, leaving them completely open for an attack. And don't even get me started on some of the advanced tech that you can pull off in this game. Every single thing that you learn during platforming, you can use during combat. A perfect blend of two gameplay elements working together to create a satisfying game loop. But of course, we can't talk about gameplay without talking about the Dagger of Time, the mystic item that allows its user to turn back time. But that's not all it can do. Near the starting half of the game, you run into these sand-like people monsters that can only be finished off by using the dagger, creating a unique challenge that allows you to prioritize targets and maximize combat effectiveness. Alongside being able to turn time and kill sand people, you can also unlock different types of skills that allow you to turn the tables on large groups of enemies that try to gang up on you. Now that gameplay is done, it's time for a brief overview of the story, because it's pretty damn interesting for how short and simple it is and how well it goes into gameplay.
Most people think time is like a river that flows swift and sure in one direction. But I have seen the face of time, and I can tell you, they are wrong. Time is an ocean in a storm. You may wonder who I am and why I say this. Sit down, and I will tell you a tale like none that you have ever heard.
The game starts off with the King of Persia looking over a kingdom that they intend to take over, after this Jafar-looking motherfucker shanks the shit out of a tower guard. Prince is pretty eager to get started because we find out that this is the first time that he's ever been in battle. The prince doesn't just want to impress his father with killing just a bunch of people and leaving to go home, but he actually wants to steal something of value, the Dagger of Time, and he does so successfully. And what follows after is some pretty impressive storytelling that seems simple at first, but you'd be surprised how many pieces of media that fail to do what this game does. The prince finds his father and immediately presents the dagger to him. His father is pleased, but the vizier, the guy who stabbed the fuck out of the tower guard earlier, seems pretty disgruntled upon seeing the knife, saying that maybe the prince shouldn't have it because it could be dangerous, showing some concern in the well-being of the prince. But the king simply says that to let the prince, have a souvenir for his first battle. The vizier ignores this and moves on to see the king telling his men to move the hourglass of time. Now the vizier is looking extremely concerned, showing the audience that he knows something that we don't. Before he can object, he begins to cough blood onto a rag, showing that his old age is catching up to him. We cut to the king bringing all of his acquired treasures to the sultan of another kingdom, so that they could be on good terms with one another. He shows off the hourglass, and the sultan is completely entranced by the glow of the sand. The vizier interrupts, no longer concerned, but almost confident, saying that the only way that we can see what's inside is if we use the Dagger of Time to unlock it. And the prince walks up like, "What, do you think I won't fucking do it?" and stabs the shit out of the hourglass as a mysterious woman tries to stop them, showing that she knows what the sands of times are capable of. But it's too late. The sands flow out, covering everyone in the room and turning them into these monstrous slaves of the sand. And the man standing in the middle of all the chaos is the vizier, smiling, telling the prince to hand him the dagger so that he can fix the mistake the prince made. But he refuses and runs away to be greeted by some of his father's guards that are now these sand-like demons. To keep it short, the prince joins up with Fahara, the girl from earlier, to stop the vizier by solving puzzles and fighting through the kingdom, all while the prince is shown to grow into deeper and deeper into depression. Because even though they aren't human, he's still killing everyone he knows and loves, and some. And it starts to hit him pretty hard, but Fahara keeps him sane as they begin to form a relationship with one another and work together to take on the sands of time and the monsters that are now being controlled by the vizier. After hours and hours of battling time and time again with sand demons and other types of monsters created by the sand, they eventually make it to where they started, to place the dagger back into the hourglass, to turn back time and undo all the wrongs that the prince has committed. Farah, in a desperate attempt to protect the prince, goes out on her own to fix the hourglass, taking both the dagger and his sword in the night. The prince chases after her to find her being attacked and backed off of the edge by sand soldiers, and is about to fall to her death. The prince finds a sword and takes the soldiers down with ease and goes to catch Farah, when...
Farah, no!
The prince has lost everything. His father, his friends, and now the love of his life. But before he can mourn, the vizier shows himself. And I think I'll just let you watch this last part, because it's some pretty powerful shit.
What? No! Give me the dagger, and I will give you power. Eternal life will be yours.
Live forever, and those I loved are dead and I to blame. I choose death.
Finally, the prince manages to turn back time and run straight to Farah's castle so that he can return the Dagger of Time before all of the events ensue, telling her the story of the entire game, just like we thought that he was telling us the story of the entire game. But before he could return the dagger, the vizier shows up, and the final showdown starts. And yeah, there is a boss fight, but yeah. Anyway, the prince manages to return the dagger to Farah and kills the vizier's punk ass and rides off into the night. Also, he does do this funny thing where he tries to kiss Farah even though she doesn't know him yet, and when he fucks it up, he tries to turn back time to like it never happened.
I said I owe you thanks. You presume too much. Such a fantastic story.
Real smooth, big guy. Overall, short, sweet, and simple game with a lot of solid mechanics that allow you to flow through it. And a nice story that, even if it is a little cliche, and it just adds a little bit more charm to it, and overall adds up being to a satisfying experience that I would love to start to play again. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this new type of video that I'm trying to do, and I hope that I can make even more, because it's extremely fun, even though it does take a while to make. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to get more and more content from me, and these won't be replacing any of my fighting game videos anytime soon. Don't worry.